really, the BSX. So we'll go over that. And let's go start with the SPY here, up 0.39%, and Q's just about flat here. So we did poke to new highs on the year. You can see on the daily here, right? Got over the top there on the Q's, and then came right back in. We did see some selling prior to lunch, but market kind of creeped its way back up. Relatively narrow range day here for the Q's and SPY. All right, coming into today, still bullish, and you can see that pullbacks are still viable, and so that's what we're getting. So we'll be bullish going into tomorrow. Don't really have any other way to be. Now, when can we shed the bullish bias? Underneath 280.30. Okay, under 280.30, we'll have a breakout failure, and we can look to see some kind of pullback on the daily. The daily is not in danger of a pullback. Pivots down here, not in danger, but if we come back in and we break on the hourly, we could see more retracement to get back to support. Okay, so first things first is we'll have to see the hourly break down, and then the daily can get back to support, right? And so the Qs and SPY not anywhere near of losing the bullishness, but the hourly at least we can anticipate here for a breakout failure underneath 177.59 on the Qs. Okay, so neutral to bullish going into tomorrow, bullish on the long term, neutral, we stay bullish unless we break underneath 177.50, and we'll see. I think, you know, you could make a case for an aggressive hourly sell setup here, but the downtrend's not really intact. So right now still looks higher. If you really wanted to be in at a point where you think the market can give you a little bit of a drop under here, but it's not something that I would advise. I do see it. Well, the SPY is definitely not looking like a sell setup anymore. Prior to kind of that last 30 minutes, maybe you got a little bit of an hourly, but we're still in an uptrend. So pretty aggressive. I think being aggressive short has not paid in this market so far this year, so it wouldn't be something that I would start trying now. Okay, I think there have been a lot of kind of clamoring for this market to come in and to have big drops, and it's kind of those people when they're proven wrong that have to cover their positions that help keep this move going. So, you know, aggressive short entries, I have not seen them work so far, so it's not the kind of thing that I just want to stubbornly try. So yeah, for now, sticking with the bullish bias on the Qs and SPY. All right, let's go over the BSX. We'll talk a little bit about that, and kind of just the time of the year that we're in does not really result in, doesn't have good results for over trading. Okay, so what I want to talk about on this BSX is that it was a gap down first. Okay, it was a gap down and showed weakness right out of the open. We'll go to the 5-minute here so you can see just what it was doing at the open, right? A lot of weakness right away. Okay, this was actually an official call. Sammy called this BSX short. Gap down. Market, on the other hand, right, was gapping up a little bit. Qs, I guess SPY was gapping down a little bit, but showed strength right at the open. You see that? Right off the open, right? For the first hour, market, Qs, and SPY were rallying. BSX, what was it doing for the first hour? Basing at the lows. Okay, so not only do we have the gap down, we also have the relative weakness, so you want to put that together. So as much as possible, you want to kind of combine these concepts together, especially during slower times where we don't have a lot of gaps, right? Because there's just, if you get the plays, if they don't follow through, you kind of have less opportunities. So it's really that much more important to be picky and to get them right during this time of year. Whereas once we get into earnings season, there's a lot of plays, a lot of chances to kind of make back your day if you start off on a rocky, with a rocky start. So really nice follow through on the BSX. Showed a lot of weakness. Then when the market came in, this only continued and accelerated lower. This was actually found by a room member. So this BSX was actually not initially on our gaps list, and then he found it, put it out, and then it became an official call from Sammy there on the BSX short. There were a couple different ways to play this. We'll go over the entries here. So it wasn't like right at the open because I think it was a pretty small gap initially. We got the nice follow through here. And then once we got this retracement, it was when the room member put it out. So you can play this as a sell setup, just a straight up sell setup, right? So it's making higher lows in the context of a downtrend. And once one of those higher lows breaks, right, you're in. So you could be in there. Okay, if you're not in there, then you can wait for a secondary entry. It means you let it trigger. And then once you see what the opposite players have in store for this, so in the case of this is triggering lower. You want to see what kind of rallying, how the bulls might push this back up. So there we get the reaction, see the green bar come in, and it immediately gets negated, and you can be in there. And this is when Sammy called it, okay, Sammy called it after this bar. And then, but you could have played it underneath 89. So they were already in. But this did give another entry there, right? And then eventually the follow through came, new lows, and much more. So the BSX, pretty nice play today. And I think, this kind of stuff is what you want to be focused on over the next week or so, which is good gap, showing that it's going to move and showing something unique as much as possible. I of course, there will be some plays that, set up the same, and whether they work or don't work, I think it's just you want to keep in mind that this isn't the time to kind of overtrade. Okay, so, and especially when you get these to work, right, let them play out as much as possible. Okay, and that's going to depend on your management. Okay, how you plan to trail this, how you plan to take targets, what kind of R amount you're shooting for. Okay. So just wanted to let you know, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that in the next week we have a lot of plays, because I thought last week was really good, right? Like last week, we played the Cree, right? We played the Cree in the morning. That worked out really well. We shorted the CLDR the day before. But I guess even then, those were only a couple plays, or like 1 or 2 plays per day, on the CLDR we played. So I guess it's really not, last week wasn't that different. It's just that we want to kind of stay focused and then maximize the ones that we do get right. Okay. So there's probably a little bit of stubbornness that's required to let this BSX fall from 38.90, to 37.70. The expectation is not you're going to get all of it, but if you can get just most of it, even if you use the hourly here and trail out over 38.03, that's still pretty good, right? Okay, so yeah, I think it's just the time to focus on being picky. Okay, I don't really know how else to put it, but just to be picky, not overtrade, because we'll probably see less of really nice moves over the next couple weeks, but we'll see. Okay, if the market starts moving, then maybe, right, we'll get a little bit more volatility and a little bit more price action. Today was an inside day for the most part. Did try to break above higher, couldn't follow through, but you can see these last week or so, bars have not been that wide, and we're kind of just grinding higher on the hourly. So, all of that points to, just being picky and maximizing the ones that do work. And so, if you need to work on your management, improve your target picking, that's kind of why I wanted to spend more time going over the tracking with the room today, because if you're going to make those adjustments, or at least start to gather the information, right, on what adjustments to make, you can do that now. And then when April comes, mid-April, and earnings season is underway, then you can kind of make the most out of your management and your target picking and things like that. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll see what the market gives us tomorrow. Still bullish. Not much has changed over the last week. So we'll see if anything unique happens tomorrow. Otherwise, we're just going to be have a continued bullish bias. All right. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great evening.